This is episode 130 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 130 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have Mike Nowicki on the show. And Mike's a guy I've actually known since roughly around the time I started this podcast. I've been following his journey. Mike's a wholesaler. He's worked under Matt McKeever's team, and I've just watched him grow in his knowledge. He's a very curious and personable guy, and he's had incredible success in the wholesaling world. And now he's making the decision to transition into purchasing his own properties and building his own portfolio, but he's going to go in with this skill set of wholesaling. Mike and I actually sat down in studio with each other and we hashed it out, and it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed digging into the weeds with him on this. We talked about just about everything from personal finance, habit management, daily routine, all the way through the technicalities of wholesaling and finding properties off market. So that's what wholesaling is for anyone not familiar with that. That's when you're finding properties off market, and typically you are tying them up under a contract and then assigning that contract to someone else. Well, now Mike wants to use those skills to build his own portfolio, and that sounds like a fantastic way to build some serious wealth, especially when you can find the killer deals that he's been able to find. So I'm confident you're going to enjoy today's conversation, and it certainly was great to have live episodes again, having two people in the same room. Just before we get into the episode, just want to remind you that if you're new to the podcast, it's a great idea to head right back to the beginning, especially if you're new to real estate investing in general. The concepts are taught very well from the beginning by all of our fantastic guests, and it's well worth going right from the start to the finish. If you haven't already done so, I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd give me a rating and review on Apple Podcast, and hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell if you're watching here on YouTube. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think, let Mike know what you think, and without further ado, let's jump into episode 130 with Mike Nowicki. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Mike Nowicki on the show, and we've talked about this for a long time. Finally got it going. Yeah, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, thanks for inviting me today, Andrew.
Yeah, it's good to catch up with you. I don't think we've spoken in like a year.
Since we had in-person meetups at down like pretty much around the corner, right?
Yeah, we used to do those. You've done a lot of things, and I don't want to take it away from you, but I met you through kind of Matt McKeever and what he was doing, and I know you were wholesaling and looking at getting into investing. So now you've moved to Toronto.
So yeah, I'm in Toronto now. It's funny because I'm actually moving out of Toronto now too.
Where are you going?
I've been here since February. I'm actually moving back to my hometown to focus purely on investing in real estate now. So I'm going to do some wholesaling, but it's going to be more buying there. And that's going to be kind of where I plant the roots, you know?
Yeah. Walk me through where you started. Like, sure. Yeah. You know, what was your career path? Like, where are you now kind of thing?
Yeah. So I always like this question. It's kind of interesting. I started out kind of, I guess in Alberta. When I was in Alberta, that's when I started my first business. And that was, I had a truck and I had a trailer, and I ended up picking up like junk from like construction sites or even from private homes, just like picking up stuff, and I'd take it to the dump. It was a junk removal business. It was super simple. And then my boss was like, okay, because I had a job at the time. He was like, you can either work here or work on your business, because you can't be doing both. You're coming to work too tired and things like that. I said, okay, well then screw you guys. I'm going to do the business. And then I ended up having to move back to Ontario, and I started doing like painting and things like that. And then someone had asked me if I can do their floors for them. I was like, yeah, sure, I can do your floors. I went on YouTube. I figured out how to do floors on YouTube that night, bought the tools the next day, showed up at their house, and I did their laminate floors for them in their house.
Oh, okay. So you laid the floor. Okay, gotcha.
Laid the floors, and then it just turned into doing like small renovations. Everyone would ask me questions if I could do that, and then I would just say yes, and then figure it out on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then that turned into me just kind of wanting to get into real estate, because like I was like, I can flip houses, I can do that, all that stuff, right? So I searched up like Matt McKeever, like you said, and then ended up going to his conference, and I pretty much asked him if I could live with him, work with him, and do all that stuff. And we ended up working together for the last 2 years. We actually aren't working together anymore as of like last month. But so learned a ton working with those guys, and I pretty much wholesaled the whole time, as well as like other small things here and there. And wholesaling just taught me a whole lot about real estate. I got to see, unfortunately I missed out on a lot of great deals because I wholesaled them, but I got to see a lot of the guys just like do proper deals. I saw how they were structuring them. I got to watch the process of the BRRRR or the flips that they were doing, or how they would actually take down the deal. And now I'm just kind of ready to take them down myself. Yeah.
So you were on the outside. I remember I spoke with you. You were helping facilitate the deals, but not doing them yourself. So have you invested yet?
Not in real estate.
So this is going to be the first. So you're transactionally quite savvy and experienced, but in terms of owning and keeping, that's different. Now walk me through, because I know like Matt's got a really unique operation. Really? And how he brings people through. I have no idea where he even got the idea. I'm sure he gleaned it from somewhere.
Fight Club.
Fight Club?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. Well, essentially we would all live together and then work together at the same time. And it's just, we spent so much time together that we were able to really grow the business real well. And then, so
it's brilliant. I mean, I think for anybody who, before you're in a relationship, it works a lot easier, because girlfriends and wives probably don't exactly mesh with that situation as well, but
it's not easy. Yeah.
So walk me through, the starting with Matt, what you learned and how you grew. Because I mean, I would say the thing I know you for is being able to find deals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I got great at making deals. I did about 50 in the past 2 years, which is or 40, 50, something like that. But like starting with Matt, he took me in, and it was Matt, Adam Martin, Jeff Wybo. Those were guys I was spending a lot of time with, right? Mm-hmm. So learning from them, they all had 3 different basically personalities, right? Matt is very logical, analytical, and like he's just a very intelligent person, right? And he's very, very much like he does a lot of the same things and makes a lot of progress that way. So he taught me that this is such a simple thing, but like living out of your calendar and having proper lists of what you should be doing throughout the day, that helped me so much. Like that's such a small tip, but like honestly focusing on what I'm supposed to be doing that day and just getting it done has helped me so much in the past 2 years.
Yeah. How do you invent that list? Walk me through that.
Yeah. So typically I look at things like what's most important, what is going to make me money today, and what is going to like I look at it as fires. So you've probably heard this before, like there will be like a big fire that you have to put out, and then there will be some that it's okay to just let them smolder, right? So like I have my list of things that I for sure need to get done that day. If I don't get certain things done, I can do them the next day. Or if they end up just falling to the side, I can just like not worry about them at all. It's really hard to kind of like be happy and like have a good life while stressing about so many little problems all the time. And especially if you don't write them down in your book or however you keep these things, like it's easy to just like feel so overwhelmed. So I just keep them in lists, and then I just choose the ones that need to get done for my health or my personal finances and things like that. And then I get those things done, and if it's just not that important, I just don't do it.
Right. Yeah. And I think trimming the fat on lists is what a lot of people have a problem with. I remember in like 2011, starting to read books on organization, and I forget what book this was, but I read it, and the guy's just like, it's like eating your vegetables. He's like, put veg next to like 3 tasks on your list that are like the ones you don't want to do, but you need to or should, and make sure those are the first 3 you do.
Yeah, or have to eat the veggies.
do that first. So, I mean, your average day, how many things you got on your list?
Try to keep it below 5, to be honest. Like I try not to do too, because I try to have a good life too, right? I mean, I get shit done, but I get important shit done first, and then I work out a ton. Like I did like over a half marathon 2 days ago, just like for fun, right?
Oh yeah.
And like I don't know, I bike a lot, I run a lot, so like I only get a few things like that really move the needle done a day. But as long as I'm moving the needle slightly every single day, then at the end of the year, like I've moved a lot.
Yeah. So how do you decide what goes on the list? And I think this is so important because topics on organization is not something I get into that often. And I think it's one of the most critical for long-term success, because consistency is everything. And if we don't have a guiding principle above the to-do list, we aren't going to do anything. So what's the guiding principle or the guiding goal above the to-do list?
So basically I have some weird like life goals, things that just like I want to do in life. So like I said about moving the needle and being consistent. So like if I have to, you mentioned consistency, and I actually really love that word. It's actually my Wi-Fi password is consistency.
Nice.
Basically, I make sure I'm at least putting like 5 offers out a week, right? So like that, to get to putting out offers, I have to make a lot of phone calls, or I have to send out a certain amount of flyers. I've kind of taken it slow on flyers lately.
Because they're a lot less effective than they were.
They are, yeah. There's a lot of people flying right now, and it's just kind of like a little bit saturated, we'll say. But I make a lot of phone calls, right? So I prioritize the things that'll get me to making an offer, because those are my lead measures, right? At the end of the day, I can't control how many deals I do. That's pretty much just like, if I put in the repetitions, I'll get deals.
You can't control what other people will do, so it's a bad metric to set a goal based on what somebody else has to do. But you can control what you do, which is making the offers.
Yeah. So if it was on my to-do list to get a deal today, it's like, you got to be more realistic and say like, make 10 phone calls, book a couple walkthroughs, and then you might get a deal or something, right? So I try to prioritize the things that I can control, and then that way, I don't beat myself up if I had like a bad day or something, right? And I honestly, like, cleaning my house is a priority, or like getting my car cleaned, or making sure that everything's organized kind of thing, or that my life is kind of like, or like even calling my parents or my brother, or catching up with friends. Like, that's all so important to me. So I'll like prioritize those things. If that's on my list and I only do such things, I still think that's a successtional day.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I will put both things on my list too. Like, it's not just business things. It's like whatever's going on in my life, because I don't know, I don't work a 9 to 5. You don't either. No. It's the things you need to get done are well-rounded. There's a lot of different things.
Yeah, there's a lot, and there's a lot on our plates, being business owners and kind of carving our own paths, right? If you don't have structure of some sort, like some weeks I'll catch myself waking up at like 10 a.m. every day, and I'm like, okay, I need to like get back to some kind of structure right now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then those weeks also, like, I have unreal sleeps and I work out like crazy, right? So like having a good structure and picking the right things to do definitely move the needle a lot in the long run. Okay,
so now let's get into some of the things to do. I mean, actually, before we do that, what are the goals? Like, what big goals do you have?
Well, recently I've kind of had a little bit of a change, because I used to think that I wanted to be like the next Mark Cuban or something like that, right? And then I did a personality test, and I kind of like, it helped me realize like, that's first of all, it's not even me, right? Like, that's not who I am. I'm Mike Nowicki, and I want to kind of just do my own thing, and I don't really have to be ultra rich to go down that route. I find myself stressing out about like the next deal or getting more money. And I found myself thinking a lot about money versus like relationships and personal health and things like that. At the end of the day, like, I really want to be wealthy, and I think that's like a non-negotiable for me. But to be like, I don't need to go that hard to get to the life that I want. So basically my biggest goal right now is to have rental properties so I can get financial independence, pay down my bad debt that I have, because I racked up a lot, because like I started making a lot more money than I was used to doing wholesaling for the past 2 years. And I wasn't really financially literate about it.
Started spending some of it?
A lot of it, like almost all of it, right? And then that became really like, and that's a topic I wanted to talk about, because like when you come from a place where you're not used to making a whole bunch of money, your parents aren't really like financially savvy or whatever, it was just what I knew was like spending what I had. So over the past 2 years, I've been able to make that mistake and kind of correct it too. So like I was like, oh yeah, like that's where all my money went, right? After I really looked at my spending, and I've been able to focus on my personal finances a lot more, and just really figure out like, okay, if I want to get to buying houses and actually looking good to lenders and things like that, I have to figure out like how to actually manage my money, right?
Yeah. They're going to want to see liquidity, right?
Absolutely.
Like, they're going to want to see you have some cash. They're going to want to see some good financial statements. So I don't know, like, do you have your own company? Is that something?
Yeah, so I have an incorporated company, but.
And has that always been like while you were working with Matt?
It was pretty much in the past year that I started that. So
because they want a 2-year history, right?
I know. Yeah.
So what when I got started with my company, I T5'd myself the first year a little bit, because it was only a half year, and then the next year I had a full T5. So now I could show the bank 2 years of T5s. They still didn't love it, because the first T5 was really low. And then the next year I had 2 good years of it, and the track record is so important, right? So you just got to get started.
Yeah, and being patient, like patience is so hard that way, right?
Patience and consistency, right?
Well, like I see, that's the thing. I see these guys doing the deals that I sell them, and I'm like, I just want to take down some of these deals.
Wish I kept them. I mean, that was the hardest thing for me, is selling anything. Like, and I used to have a company to flip student rentals, and I'd buy them, add all this value, and then I'd look at them a year later and say, wow, I really wish I just still owned it. You know, it would be way better to have just kept it.
Yeah, you were saying that in one of your podcasts. I started listening to your podcasts from like the beginning a few weeks ago, just to catch up on them, and you mentioned that in one of them. I was like, I don't want to have that feeling either.
It's a very regretful feeling. Now, of course, you know, since then I have actually sold more of them, and ones I never thought I would sell. So sometimes it's more of an investment decision. Hey, I think this money is better elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But when you just sell it for income, that's where I hate it, which is actually exclusively where you've been. So now you've seen the light. You know?
Yeah. So like, I'm not saying like the past 2 years have been like life changing. Absolutely. I've learned a ton and I've made a bunch of freaking money. But next step is getting it to stay in my court, basically.
Right. Well, yeah, you've learned the skill and no one can take that away from you. Exactly. And we're going to dig into those fundamentals a bit and kind of talk about that. But just give us an idea. Like, what are some of the things you were spending on in this last year? Like, what was really sucking up the money? Okay.
First of all, like I would go to a restaurant to eat lunch and dinner every single day, and that was like very expensive. After looking at it on the weekends, like I ended up starting to booze a lot. Like there was a couple months where I just drank every single weekend, and I was like, that's getting expensive, because I was the friend that was making money, and it's like, yeah, I'll take care of the bill, I'll take care of the whatever, right? Just a lot of ego kind of spending, a lot on clothes, a lot on like women, just like random stuff, right? Yeah. Just
cars too.
Yeah, I bought a car that was not cheap. like my monthly expenses on my vehicle alone are over $2,000, and it's just like, that's a bad financial
Holy
decision.
Crap, what'd you buy?
Well, like I have a BMW 6 Series, and like my insurance is pretty high. Gas is extremely high. The payments on the vehicle, it's just, it's a bad storm, right? So we're getting close to paying the thing off, so that is going to be a big expense that's like off the thing. But insurance is still high on that vehicle. So
yeah, I hate car payments.
I hate it.
Very adamant not to have them.
Yeah, so that's a big goal of mine, is being like bad debt free right now. So I have like almost 6 figures in the pipeline in accounts receivables right now, so I'm excited to get that to pay down a bunch of debt. But until then, it's kind of just been like just getting new deals in.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, your skill set and what you know, I mean, you can clean up your own house, which is what you're talking about doing, and JV on the other side of it.
Yeah.
I think that you're a perfect candidate for that. Is like, you bring the deal and the numbers are good and you know how it works. And you bring that to somebody who's got the financial ability to close, and it's like you're at no disadvantage. You'll just start that way until your corporation shows a couple of years anyway, and then at that point, you know, it's easier to get your own mortgages. Yeah.
So my question for you actually, was
let's do it.
Because if I were to go JV with someone, I've heard a lot of great things about JVs, and I've heard bad things about JVs. Someone I have in mind right now, he works in private equity. He actually just retired in his 20s, and he has a lot of liquid capital right now. And he's fine, or he's like analytically has a lot of horsepower behind him, so he can really analyze deals well, where I bring a lot of let's say like boots on the ground to the table, right? How could a relationship like, especially because he's my friend, how could a relationship like that be beneficial or like go south?
You know, it's tough to say exactly why something works on one side and doesn't work on another. I think you really got to trust your gut. Like, if your gut's saying, hey, that's not the right fit, or it might strain your friendship, then that's something to consider.
I think for me, it like, I have no gut. Like, I really believe in my intuition. I have pretty good, I really believe in that. So I don't have any bad feelings about it that way. In fact, I think it'll strengthen our relationship. But to joint venture, I think is probably the only option right now, right? Because
well, you can borrow unsecured just Pinot money. I mean,
Right.
so many people on Instagram are doing that. Like, I mean, that's a gray area because technically,
How long is that sustainable though, right?
well, here's the thing. I look at these two things as very exclusively different, right? If I borrow a Pinot, I feel indebted to somebody. I've guaranteed them that I'm going to pay them back, and I don't take that lightly. Whereas if I do a JV with somebody, I say, we take this risk together. I'm the working partner, you're the money partner. My risk is that I might do all this work and make no profit if the market changed or something happened. I mean, I'm saying in a worst case scenario, right? In most cases, like we're assuming the market's going to continue to do what it's been doing or even just stagnate, which would still probably be okay in a lot of circumstances. So you really have to differentiate and make sure that who you're working with knows what's on the table and knows what are the dynamics here, what are you agreeing to and what are you not agreeing to. Like the one I'm looking at in Florida right now, I would be funding the guy's down payment and any difference that the construction mortgage wouldn't cover, but I'm not taking the guarantee on the property. And that's what we pre-negotiated that.
Okay, interesting.
So he knows that's where it's at. Now we just need to get the paperwork to reflect the same. So I would just say, for me, I would just really be approaching it as, let's make sure we're on the exact same page about what I'm doing and what I'm not doing.
Yeah, so we've got a meeting at the end of this week to kind of go over those kinds of things, set expectations. I told them, like, let's not make any decisions just because we're friends. Let's make them on real kind of like reasoning.
Yeah, and say by all means, like, don't hold your tongue. Like, if you have something to say,
exactly.
There's no sense in not airing concerns. Why would you do that? Because you're just going to end up creating a problem later. Yeah. But it's funny. Like my best JV experience was with my buddy Mike, and we didn't even have paper to start. It was a handshake. True. And I'm not recommending that. I don't even know why we did it. But I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line between us, with nothing to record it other than our word. Which, I mean, you got some trust there when that kind of thing happens. Again, not recommending that. I think that generally speaking, it's best. What we ultimately decided is we got to get something on paper, because if something happened to either of us, all we have is our word. If we're not here to say it, then that's no good. So I think that's the big reason. Most important is to have it for that reason.
Yeah, like when it comes to JVs, because if you're someone that's boots on the ground, you're expected to kind of take care of all the problems at the end of the day, right? So hypothetically, let's say I were to leave the country for a month. What then? Like, have you had that kind of experience? Because you just left the country, and you must have some kind of 3 months. You must have things going on in Canada. So
yeah, I mean, but I don't act through my own hands and feet. You know what I mean? A lot of things is just acting through the phone, which I can do from anywhere. So I think that's more building your team. Like, just because you're the working partner doesn't mean you're doing all the work physically. Right? Yeah. And I think that's an important conversation to have too. Say, just so you know, we are going to be hiring a property manager. My job is to put all the pieces in place and make sure that this doesn't escalate. But there is a structure, there's a hierarchy of people who are able to respond to situations. And I don't want to get a call in the middle of the night. And this is what I'm doing to make sure of that. So, I mean, that's how I would look at it. I think a lot of people, when they get into these discussions, if you get the feeling like you're being looked at as if you're not bringing value to the table, that's when you need to take a step back and say, hang on here a second. We're going to respect what I'm bringing to the table, and you need to be able to sell that value that you have. Say, I'm bringing a lot to the table here. I'm not getting any compensation unless you make money. Why would I do that? I'm going to pour in all my time and effort here. Yeah, I'm taking risk too. We're both putting in equal risk here. One of us is doing it with money. One of us is doing it with our time. And when we both are going to benefit 50-50, and you'll get your money back when we refi or whatever you agree on.
I think initially some people like look at the 50-50 and they're like, oh, that's a lot, and I'm giving up half of my, like, it's my money, right? People work hard for it. They don't always see like what you can bring. So I think but they're still getting their money back. So you're not giving up half of your money. I'm generating this return for you, and I'm giving you half of it plus all your money back. That's a pretty good deal. I almost want to like make a video to walk JV partners through like I guess that's a conversation you'd have, but like it would be a cool video to like walk them through like everything that we do as boots on the ground, or I would do as a boots on the ground partner.
I heard this this story. I forget where it came from, but this guy hired this plumber after hiring, 3 other people that couldn't fix a problem. The guy comes in, fixes the problem in 1 minute and charges, $1,000. And he's like, what? Like that, you're making $1,000 an hour. That's ridiculous. He's like, you're not paying me for my time here. You're paying me for the 20 years that I spent knowing where that problem existed.
Exactly.
And I think that's the real thing you got to sell is that you're not paying for my hourly. You're not paying for my time. You're paying for my knowledge.
Exactly.
And
connections.
I've built this up over time. I know what I'm doing. I'm connected. I can build a team anywhere because of the way I operate, and you can see how I operate. And that's how I would sell that. I mean, I think hustle is the most important thing that you've got right now for your own benefit.
Yeah.
So you're willing to hustle, but the knowledge is there, the experience is there. Now you're going to just kind of massage it into owning property. But I mean, a lot of the hustling to find leads, find people, make connections, those are all useful skills in this game. And you obviously know more than enough people who are doing flips, BRRRRs, have contractors.
When it comes to that, like I know who does deals and like who actually executes on proper BRRRRs and flips. So like I'm a phone call away from many different trades. In fact, I know a lot of trades myself. A lot of my old friends from high school are in the trades in the city that I'm moving. So yeah, it's a very good, like, I think it's just, I would be stupid not to go down that direction, right? Especially after doing like 40 deals, I know how to find great deals, right?
Yeah, that's such a critical skill.
Yeah.
I would definitely
buy the best, wholesale the rest, right?
I think wholesaling, I mean, in a time now where it's never been tougher to find a deal that makes sense.
Yeah.
And, if you got the deal, you've got a lot of leverage in a negotiation.
Some people are doing bidding wars on wholesale properties, and I'm like, holy smokes!
Yeah,
like,
that
is
irritated
wild,
me.
Right?
The bidding wars on wholesale properties thing really, I don't know why it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
It does, right? It's kind of weird. So like, I try to stick with if I have a buyer that I've been working on a relationship with, like, I'll just tell them, hey, I got this deal. Like, this is what I want to make off of it. Let's do the deal, right? Yeah. And I find that builds a way longer term relationship. Some deals I lose out on like thousands of dollars, which is fine, but that relationship is just getting stronger.
You're investing in that relationship.
And stronger, right?
Yeah, because I tell you, like, for me, I disengage when I see, we're taking offers. I'm like, well, I might as well just buy on the MLS then. Like, I'm competing with a lot of investors, some of which who have a lot, who are willing to take a thinner margin or have an extreme capability to renovate a lot cheaper than I could. You're competing with all that. It just makes me think, well, if I'm competing, I'm doing something wrong. I need to get creative. I need to find a way that I'm not competing. And that's always what I've live by.
Even when I'm out doing deals like off market, I'll have the seller be like, yeah, I've got 3 more guys like you here. I just want kind of the best offer from you guys. And I'm like, so I'm competing against other wholesalers, and half of them don't know what they're doing. So they're going to offer too much. And then that person, the deal falls apart. That person hates a wholesaler now. And it's just like, it becomes a kind of a mess, right? So
you almost have to like talk them through. Well, I understand a lot of wholesalers are going to say that. However, what I've seen in an experience is that if you deal with an inexperienced wholesaler, they're going to tap your property conditionally, and then they're not actually going to buy it.
Well, the deal I did yesterday, so the guy called me he called my cell phone. I picked it up, and we basically found out he was from Calgary and he was just here for the week. I said, I can come today. I'll be there at this time. He said, perfect. I'll see you then. So I showed up. I did my comparable search. I had my offer ready. I came with a blank offer, but I knew what I was going to offer verbally. He showed me around the house, and he was like, yeah, I don't want to really make a decision today, but let's just kind of get this done, or let's move this process forward. So we walked through the house. I sat him down, and I was just extremely confident with the guy, because like, I know I can structure deals. I know I can find assignees. Like, it's not a problem for me. And I know if he has had conversations with other wholesalers, I'm gonna have to be the best one. Maybe not on price, but like absolutely like like so much confidence
in the deal, right?
Yeah. So I went through, and I was very compassionate. He lost his father 2 years ago, and he's been going through probate with the property. So super compassionate, super confident. And then when we got to sit down about the deal, I didn't fill out the price or anything. I kind of just filled out the paperwork. I said, this is where our names are going to go. I walked him through the thing. This is like where I'm going to put the closing date. These are the conditions. Let's talk about these. This is where, if you want to add anything, you can. And then I went back to the front of it, and I started filling it out. This is my name. How do you spell your full name? And then I started filling out all the information. I said, we'll get to the price after. Let's just fill out the paperwork. Get back the third time. I said, okay, what's the magic number? Like you have till Friday, let's just get this done. Do you have a magic number or ballpark at least? And he was like, humming and hawing. Typically, I love to get the price from them first because like you are in a better position that way. If you know they're out to lunch or if you can kind of start lower, it's good to know their price. So what I did, I couldn't get the price out of him. He's from out west. He's a very like stubborn guy, which is fine, because like when I can't get the price out of them, I'll just start a little bit lower than I normally would in case I could get a better deal, right?
Yeah.
So I offered him $800K for the property, and I said I'm in the high 7s, low 8s right now, and he's like, okay. And then he started talking about it, or like walking around his house like thinking, and I was like, I'm just going to continue filling out this paperwork. You go kind of think, right? So I finished filling out the paperwork. He comes back in the room. He's like, how's 810 sound? And I was like, give me a second. I'm going to go call my partner. Stepped outside, made a phone call. And basically, like, I went back inside. I was like, let's do it at 800. And he was like, no, 805. And I said, okay, 805 it is. And then we just filled out the paperwork. Because, like, I was, like, so confident that we're doing it today. I was like, let's get this done today. I'd rather not come back tomorrow. He's like, what if I want to go to the lawyer? And, like, will it offend you if I want to get this checked over by the lawyer? I said, you know what? It doesn't offend me at all. I would probably do the same thing, but let's get it done today anyways. And then tomorrow when you bring it to the lawyer, if we need to change anything, we might be able to do that.
So did you write it in as conditional on the agreement?
It's a conditional offer for me.
So it's conditional for you, but not conditional on his behalf?
No, not at all.
So actually, Carlo's been on this podcast a couple of times. He would actually, I don't know if he still does this, but he used to actually write a conditional for the seller so that they could review it with their lawyer.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he'd write, this offer is conditional on the seller's behalf for 2 days to have, for a lawyer's review to a sole and absolute discretion, whatever, I don't know, exact wording.
Interesting.
And just said, okay, yeah, if that's your, if we can settle that concern, are you ready to proceed? Okay, yeah, sure. All right, great. If he says no, then there's something else on his mind anyway.
Then
you might as well
it's not the, it's yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's the wrong objection. That's just a shield.
That's a good move.
Yeah. So he would put that in all of his stuff. This was going back like 7-8 years.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, he's doing real honest deals at that point. He's giving them the time to go over with the lawyer, all that stuff. Right.
And once it's on paper, like, I think it helps. Now, I'm not sure how he worded.
It's a mental thing for sure.
It probably says if he doesn't voice a concern, the deal becomes firm. I'm sure because he wrote it himself, right? You have 2 days to throw up an objection here, otherwise the deal goes firm.
Like you waive your right to kind of.
I doubt he required them to put notice because the seller's not even going to know how to give notice. So
that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll use that.
Sharing ideas. So I want to get back into like, kind of even how you're finding these deals, some of your daily tasks, so that I think a lot of it's just going to be hard work. There's probably no secret to it. It's just more like execution and consistency. Yeah.
Well, finding deals is like, there's a lot of free ways to do it. There's a lot of paid ways to do it. To list a few, I mean, if you're paying for your marketing, you can be sending out handwritten letters through Canada Post or even postcards that have like more of a professional look to them. Some people do both. Some people do one or the other. You can have a website which attracts people that Google search like Toronto house buyer or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a good one. Free ones are door knocking, probably one of my favorite ones.
You used to do that, right? That was how you started.
I still do, yeah. So I used to, and I still continue to do it. I don't do it as frequently, but that's how I got my first 3 deals. And then I ended up getting like 6 or 7 deals after that too. So door knocking, totally free. Walk to a neighborhood and basically say, I'm looking to buy a house. Do you know anyone that's looking to sell? And then you just pop the question, like, would you consider selling your house?
And wouldn't they tell you if they were thinking it? Like, I really like this neighborhood, looking to buy.
Yeah, well, they would be like, well, like, I've kind of thought about selling my house, but especially when I pop the question, like, would you consider selling your house? They'll tell me, like, if they have thought about it or not, right? And then when they say, yes, I have been thinking about it, I said, okay, well, it's super simple. Let me just come inside. I'll look around, show me around your house, and then I'll give you an offer. How's that sound? And then I basically, like, walk into their house.
Okay, so when you're walking those neighborhoods, do you have an offer in your pocket? Do you have a file folder with you? Like, well, how are you doing this?
Yeah, that'd be cool. But I try to just travel light. Basically, I'm just like an average person out there trying to be like, not too official. Like, I don't dress up or anything. Yeah. What I'm wearing now, like t-shirt, shorts, like even hat. Sometimes I'll go through and do it like that. But But no, I come with a general like price in mind for the area. Like I do, after you're there for days and weeks on end in the same general area, you kind of get to know like the prices, obviously.
Like what things are selling for.
Exactly, right.
Do you have a realtor friend that gives you some comps?
Yeah, so you can have a realtor friend that gives you comps, or if you're in the GTA or
House Sigma.
Yeah, House Sigma's like awesome, right? It's like the simplest tool. If you don't know what House Sigma is, it's basically like having the matrix, but for someone that's not a realtor.
And it's only Treb, right? It's only the Toronto board.
Yeah. But like it is expanding a little bit. Like you can pick up some in London. They're not as accurate, but.
Well, I think the ones out of town are all people who have paid to be able to list on the Toronto board, the Treb board. Yeah. Some realtors seem to have figured that out, and then there are other realtors that don't know what I'm talking about when I bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically House Sigma helps a lot in the GTA. But yeah, basically like I can have that on my phone, and if they really
just
want
looking
an
up
offer.
the street, and are you kind of going out to, looking up the neighborhood you're going to go to and just knowing, like you go on House Sigma, you look at the type of house.
Yeah, so like a lot of times, like let's say you wanted to invest in a certain neighborhood, right? And I'm a wholesaler. So I'll say, Andrew, I'm going to be, I plan on going door knocking and I want to get you some deals. What area would you want to buy in? And you'll tell me your area, and I'll say, what is a no-brainer price for you in that area?
Yeah.
Okay, around this price. Okay, so I can go to that neighborhood. If I can get a deal at that price, I pretty much for sure have a buyer. If it's not Andrew, it's for sure someone else. Because if Andrew's buying it, I know someone else will buy it, right? So basically, I'll get that investor's information, and then I'll go find those kinds of deals.
So you already have a warm lead before you can go to the neighborhood.
Well, essentially, I just like know what like the like absolute maximum is, and like what makes it like I'll buy it all day long kind of price, and then I just go and make those offers. And then because I say like I'll say it like, as a business, I need it at this price, and that's it. And they're kind of just like, okay, well, I guess that's it then, right?
Some of them probably just tell you, well, okay, that won't work for me.
Politely tell me to screw off. But yeah, it's a big numbers game. And then, so like back to like different marketing, like, so I do door knocking, also on Kijiji. If you're on Kijiji and you go on like the for rent ads. So typically if someone is renting out their unit, their landlord or property manager,
want to sell.
Maybe they want to sell, right? So I try to look at the ones with like rough photos, or the place doesn't look that good, the description's like one sentence or something, and I'll call them up and I'll say, I know this is a bit out of the ordinary, you're trying to rent out this unit, I'm actually an investor in the area and I'm looking to buy, have you considered selling this place, or do you know anyone that's considered selling? And then that I've gotten leads that way too. In fact, I just did a walkthrough from one of those 2 days ago. So
nice.
And like obviously for sale by owner on Kijiji is really good.
Oh yeah. They probably get called off the hook though.
Honestly, like it's not as bad as like flyers. Like I get more people like talking badly about flyers than me calling them on Kijiji. And like at the end of the day, like
flyers have turned into something else.
It's wild, yeah.
People, I used to get angry calls from people for the flyers, threatening me for sending the flyer, the handwritten one.
Well, they still work. It's just like you're going through like a lot of like I made a mistake when I first came to the GTA. I sent out 50,000 at once, which was like
and you got a lot of calls, right?
Well, like in smaller cities, like I wouldn't have got that many calls, right? But GTA isn't as saturated, so I got like 2,000 calls within a week and a half, and it was like 1,800 calls.
So you must have missed so many of them.
Oh, I missed like I would be on the phone with one person, like two more would come in, right? Yeah. So I had like all these missed calls, and it was just really hard to like keep up with it. It was just like too much. Right?
Yeah, no, it's what happened to me when I did it in Hamilton the first time. I got like 300 calls in a week and a half or something like that. Which even that was, most of them were wasted. Yeah. Most of them were. I tried to catch up, but I couldn't.
Yeah, you can try to catch up, and then like, but if you don't get them on the first call, usually that's when they're most like into it, right? But like a lot of people did GTA, they all know House Sigma, they all know like what their house is worth anyways. Everyone's just like, I want the highest price. And I just refer them to a realtor at that point.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like you want to avoid that. Like how do you? So say you did do some outbound marketing. Like how do you pre-screen them before you go to the property? Yeah.
So basically, I don't want to show up to a property that's fully renovated. First of all, I don't want to show up to a property that they're expecting like full market value or more. So basically, essentially, I'll tell them. So basically, I'm looking for houses that can be renovated. so that way we can flip them and then sell them or wholesale them or whatever, buy them as rentals kind of thing. So then they know that I need a house that needs renovations. I could ask them, sometimes I ask them, does your house need renovations? And they'll say, no. And then I'll show up and it actually does. Or like, sorry, if I ask them if it needs renovations, they'll tell me what they think I want to hear, right?
So they'll tell you yes, even though it doesn't need it?
Yeah, exactly. Or something. Yeah, they'll say like, yeah, you could renovate this one. And I show up, it's like pretty much a new house, right? Versus when I say like, I need to buy houses that need renovations, they'll tell me, oh no, it's fully renovated. Or yes, actually, you could probably take care of this, this, and this. And then, okay, then I'll show up, right? Then I'll ask them like, what's the price range that you want to sell this for? I don't want to come out and waste my time or waste your time. And then they'll just tell me like, I need X amount between this and this, right?
But most of them, I feel like when you ask them that question, they either won't commit to a number or they'll tell you something that like, they've looked it up. Usually they're wrong and they just go off of what they see other stuff listed for.
Yeah. Or what their realtor told them is another big one.
Yeah, and it's always high, like almost always. So
that's like a secondary qualifying question. First of all, if I can do renovations, then I'll show up. And but if their price is like way too high, I'm just like, this person is just out to lunch, right?
Like, how do you know if you've got somebody who won't be reasonable and negotiate?
I hate that I do this, but I stereotype a lot of certain like people and like just the way they are on the phone. I'm like, okay, this guy's just not going to be good. He's like too stubborn and like I'm not going to be able to even like, because like
do you prefer a more passive like type of response, or do you want somebody who's a little bit more direct and in your face?
Well, I just want someone that's not like, you can tell when someone just wants the highest value for their house versus when someone wants, because like for example, like I sold my car recently and I could have sold it privately and made like an extra 5K or whatever off it, but I went to the dealer because it was easy and I just didn't really care about the extra money that I could have made by selling it myself. Same thing for people with houses. Like sometimes the money isn't their driving
that's what you got to figure out,
motivation. So sometimes you can just tell like what if their motivation is purely money, then it's like I'll come show up and like make the offer. But sometimes it's just like, we need to get this done. Like sometimes you can ask questions like, when do you want to move? And if they want to move in like 30 days, and I know like they have like things in place, like they need to get moving kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like it's just a bunch of questions. There's no secret to it. Like it's just consistency and really getting out there and having those conversations really. But wasting time, you learn a lot about like the kind of people you're working with by like showing up to these bad walkthroughs and you just kind of like make these mental notes, right?
Okay, so yeah, these are the telltale signs of somebody who's not going to work out.
Yeah,
and these are the telltale signs of someone who will. Yeah, and that's a great point. And like you're never going to know unless you just start doing it. Some of it can't even be articulated in the words.
No. Yeah,
but you're probably looking for a reason, right? Like somebody says, I had a family member die, or I guess like you would be looking for ones that you'd have some sort of inclination that their house is going to be rough.
Yeah.
And, messy. Yeah. They don't want to list. Why don't you want to list? Do you ask that?
Always. I always ask like, why don't you want to list with a realtor? You could probably get a lot more money with doing it that way. And then they'll tell me like, I don't want to pay the realtor fees, or they'll tell me like the house is an absolute mess, or they'll just tell me they want to keep it low key. Some people have like anxiety. They don't want to show their house to the world, right? They don't want their neighbors coming to their house.
Yeah. Or even knowing they're selling.
Yeah, exactly. So like a lot of people want to keep it low key. And so when I show up, I don't even park at the house. I park down the road. So like they don't see that this like nice car is coming here with like a folder in their hand. Like people get like suspicious, right? So I just go there and just like, just keep it low key for them. They're calling me for a reason, right?
Okay, yeah. I mean, obviously they did see the flyer.
It's a handwritten note. Like you're not going to call a handwritten note. They know
you're not a realtor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I guess just establishing those things. Okay, so then you go in, you're normally kind of filing through that process of writing up the offer, getting into a ballpark. What do you do when somebody's just outside of your ballpark for cost? Like, do you try and salvage that, and how do you do it?
Well, like I come ready with my numbers, and my numbers work for me. I have like my initial offer and then what my maximum allowable offer is.
And what do you show them for comps? Do you show them comps?
If they really want to, like if they're really like, if we're having that in depth of a discussion, like, because usually you're starting to disagree on price at that point. If you're bringing out the comps, like I'll pull out my cell phone and say like, look, this is what actually sells for. Your realtor might have told you this, or this might have been a house they told you about that sold for the price around what you want. But like, let's look at the differences, right? like sometimes I'll go down that route.
But I feel like the conversation, in my experience, really starts to go sour once you get to that point.
It does. And then so I just try to keep it like, I'll come and say, like, I'll straight up tell them, like, I believe by the time I sell this house, it'll be worth this much. After all the renovations are done, it'll be worth this much. And then I'll say, these houses are similar to yours. They've been selling around this price. I'm going to need a discount. Like, I'm here, we're doing this private. What's the price that we can make it work at? And then I just lay it all out for them. Like, I have to be honest, right? I have to tell them.
Yeah, of course. So do you tell them you're going to be wholesaling it?
Like all the time, yeah.
You say, yeah, that's my business is selling to other investors. So I tie these deals up. So that's why we have the assignment clause.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Do you tell them I need to make money? This is what my wholesaler buyers are going to buy
for?
Yeah.
So I've done both. So basically I started out kind of acting like it was me buying the property and stuff like that. And then I started like mentally, like that wasn't okay for me, right? I was like, I felt like I was just lying to the people straight to their face and then doing the deals and then making money off their property, right? Yeah. So I started just like, it honestly did make me get less deals, but I can actually sleep at night now, right? Yeah. So like when I'm more honest and more like I can, I just feel better about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't do as many deals, but I will actually like not feel like shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I just want to be honest in all my dealings. Yeah. I don't want to ever tell anybody anything that's not sincere. But I think you can, if you just take your time, you don't need to necessarily lose business for it. Because if you can form a connection with someone, say this is what I do. This is my livelihood.
Yeah. And that's, I always tell them, like, I don't do this just for fun. Like, I love what I do, but I don't do it just for fun, right? I still have to make some money, so.
Yeah, I got to make money here. I can't work for free. I know you don't work for free. Like, everybody's got to kind of come to that realization, right?
And it gets a lot easier when you actually decide that I am going to start buying properties. I can have a little bit different conversations because, like, I'm going to look at the property as if I'm buying it first, right? Yeah. And as if I'm going to partner with someone on it, right? Yeah. And then, yeah, I
like to leave it open-ended if I have those conversations. Say, I do buy properties. I also have other investors I work with. So, they may ultimately end up being the ones buying it, but I'm here looking at it from an investor standpoint. Yeah, it needs to make sense.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's it's good. We haven't had a wholesale conversation in a while on this show. So,
in a nutshell, kind of how it goes.
What are your what's your favorite right now in terms of ways to generate the leads? Is it going on Kijiji and talking to renters or?
Follow-up has been a big one for me. It's also free. I've already spent the money on the leads. So these are leads I've already offered on like months or years ago, right?
So just call them up and
I can call them up and just, create deals that way. Or honestly, Kijiji is just a great one. Yeah.
But active outbound Kijiji where you're reaching out to people.
Yeah. Like you can also make ads too, like free ones, or like pay like $5, whatever city you're in. And then
those are everywhere though.
Everywhere. Yeah. Like I buy houses or like easiest way to sell your house kind of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, those are good, but very seldomly do you actually get a good lead out of it.
People want to deal with people though.
Yeah.
So if you actually reach out to someone, I mean, I was going to ask you this, like when you're going door to door and knocking on these doors saying, hey, I'm looking for a house in the area. I was just curious if you know anyone on the street that's selling. Mm-hmm. Do you get treated like a door to door salesman?
Honestly, like I get asked that question a lot when I talk about door to door, and the answer is absolutely not. So when I go up to the door, I shoot them a smile, like right away I get them smiling or laughing about something. And like, we just have a genuine conversation. Like, I'm looking to buy a house here. Do you know anyone selling? And it's like, at first their initial thought is like, who's this guy at my door? But the moment I just calm them down with a simple smile, like it goes a long way. And like these days, everyone really just wants to talk to someone. Like you might not know it, but personal like interaction is actually still a thing. Like people love to like talk to people in person.
Yeah. How do you are you wearing a mask? Can they see your smile?
I carry a mask in my hand, just like I have my phone and a mask in my hand. So like if anyone's really like picky about it. But like I've only had like one or two people really get kind of
ask you to put it on.
Yeah, put it on. Like most people don't really care, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's good, especially you're outside.
Yeah, we're outside, and like realistically, they've talked to maybe a handful of people in the past like year or whatever. So
yeah, like somebody wants to talk to me.
Right.
Yeah. Do you back up from their door?
Yeah,
like knock on them back up.
Even before COVID, I always have like a 5-foot rule because like you don't want to knock on someone's door and be like right there in front of their face, right?
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, you don't want to be crowding them.
And I always just try to like, I feel like I'm good at like seeing what kind of person is they or what kind of person they are, or like how they are going to react, but just by their initial like tone of voice kind of thing. And I'll just like be able to like change my body shape or like how I'm standing or how I'm speaking. And then I can like really get through to them a little bit easier just by like, I call it style flexing.
Yeah.
So you just like mirror their style,
mirroring, right?
And then like it just makes them comfortable. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's a tactic for negotiations, mirroring, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Negotiations are interesting. Like you can go about it like you're going to battle or be like super open about it, but it's negotiations like lifelong, like it's tough.
Well, you want to make a friend in that process, make sure that you're on the good side. That way they'll actually just want to deal with you, right? People want to deal with friends.
Yeah. So like, for example, the deal yesterday, excuse me. He was a cyclist. He lived in Calgary. There was a lot of things like we kind of had in common. Like I used to live in Alberta. I'm a big cyclist, things like that. And like, I was like, oh, is that your old bike there? And then I was like, what kind of saddle is that on your bike? Is that a Brooks? And he was like, it is a Brooks. And I was like,
oh, that's perfect.
Unreal.
If you can find something that they like.
Yeah. And then we just like, for you're a musician, right? So like when you talk to people, there's probably a lot of people you talk to that love music.
I've tried that though. I'm like, oh, you play guitar too? Yeah. And he's like, yeah. Okay, you're not my guy.
Yeah, it all depends, right? I always just try to find something I connect on, and I took out like a newer wholesaler door knocking before, and they were like, you really can like connect with anyone about anything, right? Because like the moment they have something that's slightly out of the ordinary, I can think of a time in my life that I've gone through like something similar, right? Or like I can just, if you've read How to Win Friends and Influence People, I'm sure you have, right?
Book.
Ask people questions about themselves, and like you can be the best conversationalist in the room, right? The most interesting person, but you're asking them questions about themselves, right?
Oh yeah.
They love that, right? So
that's a great book, by the way. Good for bringing that up.
I've honestly read that like 6 times in my life.
The thing that stands out to me is why does everyone love a dog? Because it's always happy to see you. It's always wagging its tail. My dog's a perfect example of that.
Yeah, you're the cutest dog.
Yeah. So if you act like that though, be the dog that's happy to see the owner with the person you're dealing with.
Man, I fell in love with dash hounds. My ex-girlfriend, she has a long-haired one just like yours.
Oh yeah.
And her name was Lolly. Doesn't really matter what her name is, but like I honestly think I'm gonna go with a dash hound for my next dog.
Yeah, man, they're great. They're a little stubborn and a little yappy. They're a little high maintenance, but they're the best dogs. Yeah.
And it's funny because they're like really independent. Like they'll come up to you, but then they'll like go and do their own thing after.
Sure. That's the funny thing. It depends. Like my dog, I know we're going on a tangent here. My dog has to be touching me when he sleeps, or my wife. Yeah, he'll cross the H, so we form an H in bed. He's the cross piece, and we wouldn't have it any other way. No, sometimes I turn him vertical, but we'll wake up and he'll like be sleeping on the pillow next to me, like facing me. I'm like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah, I want to get a dog so bad, and that's definitely on the top of my list.
So this is when you're going out to Calgary next? Or is that where you're moving, or are you going out to Alberta?
No. I used to live in Alberta, but no, I'm moving to Chatham, Ontario. So
Chatham, okay. Well, there's lots of deals to be had there.
Yeah, small town Chatham. I know pretty much everyone there. Jeremy, Ivany there. Like even the guys that I went to high school with, like a lot of business owners now, a lot of trades guys, a lot of business owners. Like the boat scene's pretty big there, so
yeah, the numbers work there. So you're going to a good place. I mean, what Jeremy's been able to do there is like inhuman. A large part, his work ethic, large part, the right environment,
and like great partner. Him and Taylor, like they're great partners together, right? Yeah. They just get shit done. They're really, really good.
Yeah. So definitely spend some time with him, and that sounds like an awesome market. There's lots of cash flow there still. Yeah,
and I'm gonna basically be door knocking pretty much daily there to get in people's faces a little bit more, because they probably remember me. I'm known as like the handwritten letter guy from Chatham. I was like the first.
So you were already
one to
doing
do
that there.
Yeah, like I was the first one to do it there, and like people just started to know me that way, right? So not exactly how I want to be known. So I'm gonna kind of go be the guy at the doors, right?
That's great, as long as you're getting in conversations with people and making it clear what you want, right? Yeah. Wanting deals. Mike, how do people get in touch with you or follow you? Where's the best place?
So I'm most active on Instagram, M Nowicki. I don't know if you write these things down.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
Last name is spelled Nowicki. Or you can like email? Did you drop phone numbers on here or no?
Whatever you like.
Yeah. So like if you're like a phone call kind of person, or text me first, don't cold call me, please. You can drop me a text at 519-360-7771. Or if you're more into emails, it's Mike Nowicki72@gmail.com.
Perfect. Yeah, you gave them all the options. So I don't give out phone numbers directly, but I mean, some people come on here, they want to.
Thousands of people have it already anyways.
It makes my phone blow up too much.
Yeah.
I've been one of those guys that just prides myself on not having my phone go off.
Once I get a second phone just for like just really for that, personal. Right?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, just have a business cell phone and another one. That's probably what I need to do, so I can have one for sales calls and stuff.
But honestly, I like talking to people. I feel like there's always something I can help someone with, and usually that favor gets returned. So I really love building relationships by like just genuinely trying to help someone. It makes me feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you golf, by the way?
Sometimes. I'm not good, but yes.
All right, we'll have to get out sometime.
Okay.
But anyways, Mike, any thoughts and words you want to leave our viewers and listeners with? Words of wisdom in your experience.
Yeah. This is something I thought about a little bit. I definitely think it's important to obviously work on your business and get after kind of your financial goals. Please don't forget about your relationships and your personal like mental health. Mental health and like relationships are very important to me, physical health as well. And then if you're new to this and you're not used to making real estate kind of money, really figure out your personal finances and make sure you don't waste time by making financial mistakes.
I think we've all done that. Even when I first got into making a bit more money, I spent too much and then had to retract and figure it out. I figured it out because I grew up very frugal and just all of a sudden got a little bit turned around there. Right. Just give an idea though of like, just before we wrap up, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but what's like a big deal commission for a wholesaler? Because I've heard some other people say some big numbers. Like for you, what's the biggest single deal?
My biggest single deal was $70,000.
$70,000.
Like that's a decent deal. Like
what's an average deal?
Average deal, 20, 30K.
20, 30K. And you can do what, like 12, 15 a year, 20 a year?
Yeah, like I've done 40 or 50 in the past 2 years. So
so
not all of them were big deals. Like a lot of them were like 5, 10K deals, right? But then you get some of them that are like 40, 50, 60.
Those put a smile on your face.
We've done like multiple 6-figure deals on our team. Like I wasn't part of the deals, but like we've done like hundreds of $1,000 wholesale deals, but those are on bigger buildings, right? Different game, right? Yeah. But yeah, wholesaling is definitely a money-making
it's a good active business, so well related to what you're doing. And if you're finding deals, the world's your oyster.
Absolutely.
You can go out. I mean, you've got built-in equity into any deal you do. That's such an asset to a joint venture partner. So I have no doubt that that this is going to go well for you in the next little bit. You keep applying that hustle, man. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew.
All right, buddy. Good talking to you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks. I'll see you on the next one.